T minus 30.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we have liftoff of Antares 54.
Failure to launch!
Failure to launch!
Failure to launch!
Failure to launch. We're not talking about rockets. We're talking about your young adult who is finishing high school or just recently stepped off the stage. And like any proud parent, we're excited because our new graduate is destined for greatness. But then nothing really happens. All of a sudden, it's like an extended summer break with no end in sight. Hours of video games, endless social media, long stretches hanging out with friends. From your perspective, the pressure is obvious. Something needs to happen next. Plans, directions, movement. But from their side, it doesn't really seem to carry the same urgency. And what makes it even more confusing is you can clearly see everything they need to do to be successful, but they only give it a fraction of their attention. This usually isn't a motivation problem. This is a transition problem. Because the adult world, it doesn't come with clear structure, built-in routines, step-by-step expectations like high school did. Adulthood doesn't. So when the structure disappears, many young adults, they don't launch. It's not because they don't care, but because they don't have a clear starting point or manageable steps or a system they can follow. The goal shouldn't be to push harder to make things happen. That just builds anxiety that has no clear path of escape. Instead, it's our role as adults to help build the structure in a way that they can engage with. So here's where the real shift happens. In high school, there's a script. Supports are built in. We know where to be every hour on the hour. Accommodations are provided. People coordinating things for us, right? Checking in, holding things together behind the scenes. But in adulthood, that script disappears. And then the structure disappears, and families are left trying to figure things out without a clear direction of what really needs to go on. So now, the expectation is that the young adult can anticipate their own needs, manage themselves throughout the day, problem solve, advocate for themselves, navigate systems that aren't very clear for grown adults. So most of those things they were never taught to do outside of academics. And when you step back and really look at it, these challenges usually fall into a few key areas: how they're managing themselves, how they're navigating systems, what supports are actually in place, and what strategies they're using day to day. The problem is, most families don't have a clear way to look at those areas separately. Where families get stuck is relying on the idea that the school prepared your young adult for everything. They didn't. They can't. They don't have enough time to do that. That's not what schools are designed for. And so we end up feeling kind of alone, and this is really common. We feel overwhelmed. We feel like things are unraveling. The anxiety is increasing. There's no structure. And so you used to trust this system, but now it feels like everything's on you. But here's what I want you to understand. The feelings of we miss something, it's common, although it's not accurate. Because everything's not broken. It just hasn't been separated out in a way that is understandable. It all blends together. So it's impossible to know where to start. So what do? The biggest mistake is trying to solve everything at once without first understanding what actually needs attention. Because not everything needs to be worked on right now. Growth doesn't happen all at once. A young adult develops over time organically. So the transition has to be broken down, not in random skills, but into clear areas that you can actually look at. How is the young adult managing themselves? How are they navigating systems? What supports are in place? What strategies are they using? And then you build from there. In my framework, the transition-focused mindset, that's exactly what we do. With a transition-focused mindset, readiness doesn't mean being fully independent. It means being ready for the next step. Sequences matter. If you skip the foundations, things can fall apart later on. But when you follow a structure, everything changes. Instead of reacting, you can make decisions based off of what's actually there. And you know what's working, what's missing, what needs attention first. That's where the clarity replaces the overwhelm that you feel. So if this sounds like your situation, start by understanding where you actually are. So you're not stuck guessing anymore, you're working from something that's concrete. And if you feel kind of hesitant to begin, that's okay, because your young adult has to be part of the process, and they're not going to connect to a distant end goal the same way that a seasoned adult can. Things have to be clear and in focus, a shared understanding. And if this sounds like your situation, start with the Transition Focus Mindset Assessment. The link is in the description. That's where clarity can begin, and that's where you can take some real first steps.